Welcome to another episode of Joy and Gratitude. We are blessed to have an incredible guest with us today, Argie Nell Nichols. And Dr. Nichols is someone that's dear to my heart. We share a book together that we both joined, and it's a wonderful book about honest stories about trauma and bringing ourselves through it and celebrating life after it. So, um, RJ, could you please give our listeners a good understanding about who you are and the wonderful things that you are doing? I'm just so excited about it.
Well, thank you. I'm just a little gray-headed, used to be redheaded country girl from the lovely state of Arkansas. I grew up on a beef cattle ranch being raised by my Cherokee grandparents. However, I didn't know they were Cherokee until I was about 50 years old. They finally let the cat out of the bag. So I had lots of opportunities career wise. And for some reason, I chose education, maybe because that kind of runs in my family. Um, so I've taught at the University of Arkansas for 32 years with a total of 45 years in education, teaching leadership, um, personal finance, and my biggest claim to fame, I guess, is teaching drafting slash computer aided design and animation. And so I am very blessed. I have students all around the world doing amazing work, and I can't take all the credit for it, but I can take a lot because I got that animation program started and it was number one in the nation for a long time. And a lot of people have copied my program that I wrote. So, uh, yeah. And so, because of this beef cattle ranch that I grew up on, it is a Arkansas Century Farm, and it's been in our family for about 138 years. And it's very dear and special to me. But we ran into some problems with family issues about transferring property and how you do all that stuff. And it made me stop and realize that there's no perfect family out there. There's no perfect situation out there. And so I've made it my personal goal to help women in their midlife be ready to write their golden chapter. And I mean, I want it to be golden. So I have these little guidelines set up that, from my experience, that I've learned that I don't want anyone else to ever have to go through. So that's where I am today, helping women.
That's wonderful. And I don't want to neglect my wonderful co host, Miss Beth Mercurio. And Beth will start us out with our conversation. We have a wonderful guest. Now let's talk about what our topic is going to be today. Beth?
Thanks, Neo. And yes, wow, I'm honored to be with both of you today and to learn more. I mean, what could be a better topic? I think we're really going to lean into this idea of the golden chapter, this idea of women who are in this phase of life who could use some stories, counsel, experience, as you mentioned. Hey,
Mhm.
how do we help people not figure that out? So one of the questions I wanted to talk about is sort of who comes to you, and when they come to you, what are they spinning and circling about? So you mentioned that your life experience has given you this incredible ability to create programs that are helping support women in this time. Can you share a little bit more with the audience around the kinds of things that you see that people are grappling with? I know Neo and I talk about this a lot. The things that we're grappling with, and we know it's resonating with the listeners. But I would love for you to sort of ground us in that, and then we can talk a little bit more around the kinds of things that you're able to do to help support women in this chapter.
Okay, I'm basically working with that a lady that's about to retire or thinking about retiring. She's maybe an empty nester and doesn't really know where she needs to go with her life now.
Mm.
Um, do I retire? When do I retire? Will I have enough money when I retire? Um, what kind of legacy am I going to leave for my children or my grandchildren? Those types of things. And I think it's very important that every woman understand that life is not over when you hit 55, 65, 75, whatever you hit. It's just the beginning of your golden chapter. And I always want to tell them that legacy starts the day you're born and the day God calls you home. It's not something that you draw a line in the sand and say, okay, now I'm an older lady and what am I going to do? No. Legacy starts the moment you're born, and it's how you live, how you have lived, and how you will continue to live. So I just want ladies to understand that you have a golden chapter ahead of you. Don't worry about retirement. I mean, of course, you need to think about that and plan for it, but don't let it be the end of your life. You know, you're just getting ready to celebrate. So
You know,
that's,
one of the
Celebrate.
yeah.
that's very powerful. But one of the things I was talking to some ladies just this week, and one of the things that has caused fear is during the pandemic and even post pandemic, the reliance of their grown adult children coming back asking for support. And that has derailed maybe plans of retirement or, just financially drained their plans. And I find a lot of women that are, I thought I would be retired. I thought I would be in my happy place. But now I have to work harder and spend a few more years because I had to support. How do I know that you do incredible work with finances. How do you settle that quandary for women?
My goal is to meet with someone one on one and seriously talk about the issues and then put together a financial plan. It's not always investments, but it could be. I just offer several different options for them to pick from so they can maybe start retirement a little earlier. And that's a hard situation because a lot of people have gone through that. I mean, we have no control over something like a pandemic. And of course, none of us were prepared for that. So it's almost like we're coming out of. I remember my parents and grandparents talking about the depression and how they came out of that depression. So it's the little things that I like to emphasize for these people. Um, there's lots of financial advisors out there that can give them information. I'm just I'm concerned that not all the financial advisors will give them all of the correct information that they need, and so that's
Mm.
why I like to meet with them one-on-one. Let me give you an example of a lady, my first real client that I worked with. She had just retired from teaching school for like 40 years. She was an elementary school teacher, and she was starting a personal coaching business, for women, and, her husband was a firefighter. They'd been married for almost 45 years, and he took his own life. Um, he went out hunting. He told his wife he was going out hunting, and he never came home, and the children found him, and the devastation for that woman, I can't tell you how many boohoo telephone calls and meetings that we have had. Number 1, the grief of losing your true love, and number 2, she was the woman that was, and I don't mean this in an ugly way, but she was well taken care of by her husband because he loved her very much. He bought all the groceries, he pumped the gas in her car, he blew the snow off the driveway, he took care of business, he took care of his wife and his family. And for him to suddenly be gone, she was lost without him. She didn't even know how to put gas in her car. And for me, that's hard to imagine a woman this day and age that can't put gas in their car or plug it in if it's electric or whatever. But she was so um, devastated with grief. Those things didn't matter at the time. But as she went on, she realized that he had been mentally sick for a long time. He played college football and had a lot of concussions, and she didn't realize how that was affecting
Mm.
his well being. And he knew he was going downhill, and he did not want to have his wife watch him go through that. So, I mean, which is worse, suicide or going anyway. She found out later that he hadn't paid their taxes in the last 12 years. He kept saying, "I'll take care of that, I'll take care of that," and he never had for the past 12 years. She had to deal with that. She didn't know if the house was paid off. She didn't know if she was gonna lose her house. She knew nothing about finances. So if I can tell anybody, please get involved. I mean, if you don't like your husband, that's okay, but still talk to him or your partner, whoever it is. There are some things that you need to work out. Um, I've seen ladies that husbands have taken out credit cards in their name, like 10 or 12, and maxed them out, and then they walk away. And there's just so many situations like that. I just want women to be prepared. I had a cousin, another story here, who did not have her name on any of the utility bills. And when her husband passed away from a heart attack, once again, unexpected, her electricity got turned off before she even got him buried,
Mm.
because she was not on any of the utility bills. So, she had to get his death certificate. She had to prove that she was married to him. She had to do, and I'm like, for goodness sake, ladies, at least do a little bit of those things to help cover you and take care of you. And it's sad to say, but a lot of women don't even think about some of these little things. And coming out of the pandemic and, being short on money since you have taken care of your grown kids, and then to think that maybe something like that would happen to them as well. I just think you need to be prepared at all times, so many different ways. And I believe this so much that I went back while I was teaching and got my law degree because I wanted to learn the specifics about some of those things. Now, I didn't sit for the bar exam. I'm not a lawyer. I don't ever wanna be a lawyer, but I wanted that information so I could help these ladies. So that's another little plug in there that I could offer. And the more stories, the more women that I work with, I always pick up things that I realize, l little things that could help them down the road.
Mm.
I'm
That's
just thinking
powerful.
about how, yeah, how one of the things that you said around kind of this idea that information is power, and how do we, your decision to study law to be more informed. And I do believe even this podcast is about us sharing outward the things that we've learned. You've mentioned that too. So how do we support each other in community and allow some of the hard lessons that have been learned? And your description of those couple of examples, I feel like I have my own of those. Quite literally, where I have women whose husbands have passed unexpectedly, and the amount of paperwork and the amount of work that goes into proving that you actually have a right to some of these assets is quite shocking to me. Under, like, I just still sort of get am shocked that after such a tragic incident, there's so much work, and it becomes very unemotional. It's just
Mhm.
like, you're sitting here having to prove that you actually were in relationship and married to someone, and that becomes the focus, not the grief that somebody must be experiencing from the loss. And it sort of boggles my mind, and I have seen it. So I love what you're saying, which is what are those little things that can help us be more prepared? And one of the things I would love for you to talk about, I pulled it out of something that you had written somewhere, and it really resonated with me. So I was hoping you might share some more around. So we've talked about preparation and planning and how important that is and being informed, but you talk about soul aligned planning. And I feel like that's a whole nother level
It is.
from just logistically planning. There's some things that we can do that are logistical, financial, and that can be almost step by step. We can help women, as you said, say, get your name on a utility bill, understand your involvement on the finances, credit cards, etc. But can you share a little bit more around what you mean? Because that piece I think is incredibly important too. And it's stirring around for me as we think about the logistical part is only one element, and the other piece of it, and how to stay soul aligned as you work through some of this chapter.
At any age, especially in your midlife, I think you need to get right with God or whomever, the universe. We'll leave it that way. I've also seen lots of ladies who regret some of the decisions that they've made. And I tell them that there's no time better than now to work that out. And I think if your soul's not in alignment, then you're not able to be aligned with your family. And the main thing I tell them is don't leave this world with regret at all, any kind of regret. Um, Number one, get right with your God, get right with your family, and make your soul enjoy your golden years. I mean, it's just so important to me, just so important. So I don't know if that answered your question, but what I want to say is don't ever leave this world with any kind of regret. And if that's writing letters to someone that you're sideways with, and it doesn't have to be family, it could be friends, it could be whomever, um, write them a legacy letter. And I have a little kit that helps with that, how to start these letters. And I don't tell people what to say. I'm just encourage them and say, here's some examples. Let's get your soul right with your family too. And I think that is critical. And I tell people that I don't plan on leaving this earth with any regrets of any kind. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be laying in my casket looking up, laughing at them. And I want to have my last final hoorah as a party to celebrate that everything is right. And I hope all my family are standing up there telling jokes and things on me because, ladies, I've done a lot of stuff in my 70 years. Some of it I'm not too happy about, or maybe it should be kept secret. But oh my goodness, I've had a good life. And I hope that I don't leave. Well, I'm not going to leave with regret. So I think that's the soul piece of it. Don't leave a regret for any reason at all. Even if you can't stand somebody, apologize to them. And you know what? When you write those letters, that's coming from your heart. You don't have to give it to them. They don't ever have to read it. It's you getting your soul right and ready to go.
I think that's so powerful and so important because once you do hit your 50s, something that happens naturally is those around you, whether they're friends, family, or whatever, they start disappearing.
Mhm.
They start moving on into their next chapter. Um, and if you have regrets, you've missed that opportunity, and that will weigh on you. You know, I think about when my dad died several years ago. 2 months later to the day, my oldest brother passed away. And it was a time that he wasn't happy with our family. And I remember sending him emails I, weekly, just telling him I loved him. And I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew that I loved him. And I'm not trying to say that that gave me a pass in the situation when he passed away, but I knew that he read them and I knew that he knew he was loved.
Mhm.
And that gave me the joy.
Mm.
To this day, I wish I would have had a wonderful conversation with him. You know, that was not something he was ready for. But there was no regret because I did what I needed to do, which was to express my love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I
So
think it's essential.
I was just gonna as a add on to that, this idea that it doesn't have to be shared. So sometimes it is shared, but I think even for me, some of it's hitting this chapter and letting go.
Right.
I'm tired of being angry at some people. I'm just
yeah,
like, you know what? I'm just not going to give them that energy and really feeling that because I think for a long time my brain, you talked about heart-centered, my brain would say, "Yeah, I'm not going to care about that anymore," or whatever. But the reality is I would still get upset. I would still feel wronged. I would still give that energy. And now I do think some of the beauty is whether it be, and I love the idea of writing, like journaling and writing a letter, to just not carry it.
Mm.
And there is something so beautiful, and I do think soul aligned when you choose to say, you know what? I'm not going to be angry. I'm going to forgive them, or I'm going to choose to move on from this and not allow it to take space in my heart because I want my heart to focus on the celebrations.
mhm,
I want my heart to be with the people who love and enjoy being around me and that we all lift each other up. And I think that's a choice. And I do think that in this chapter, I want people, especially women, to feel empowered. And we talk about this so much caretaking, I think happens. Women caretake. It's just one of the things that we learn and then we pass on. And I think when we talk about legacy, maybe this chapter that we're talking about is not only can we share with other women who maybe haven't figured that piece out, that self care has to
mm,
be in the equation. It can't
yeah,
just be care of others. And that when we understand our soul and we care for self, that is the way in which we can start to let go, be aligned, make some plans. And I would love that because if we start to do it in our community, this legacy is that we get to leave that to the younger women. And maybe they, and I think they already are. Neo and I have talked about this. I feel very hopeful and I see some joy in the younger generation. I have two daughters that are young adults. Caring, understanding the importance of self care and prioritizing that and listening to what's going on for them and not always just overriding their own soul needs,
mhm,
but we get to do that. I think our golden chapter, part of, I would almost call it a bit of a responsibility, I think, is to share how we cannot continue to override our own soul, that we have to respect it, to care for it, to listen to it, so that we can do all the beautiful things you said, leave the world with no regret, have a celebration that the people are celebrating the lives that we lived. Be excited about the lives we live each and every day, not this future thing, but this thing that we're doing right now. I'm showing up as a human I want to be. That piece and creating that kind of a legacy and sharing and teaching the youth, I think, is what gives me hope. And the more we talk like this, the more we openly share, the more we encourage women to do these things, I think the trickle down is going to start to happen more and more.
absolutely. One of the pillars of her is honor, and I talk,
Mm.
I think I have 6, I don't know how many lessons I have in that pillar, but that's all about our personal space and our self-care and how to do some of that. And one of the things that I've learned is that when those feelings pop up, the ones you say that you're not gonna let bother you, and they just magically appear somewhere, here's what I say:
Mhm.
"Return to sender. This is not my problem. So start returning to sender, and that will help a lot.
I love that.
So do I.
So, Dr. Nichols, please tell us. I know that you have recently retired from academia. What are you doing now?
I am following my passion. I have put together a program called Her Life Legacy, Her, HER, Honor, Educate, and Rise. So I'm working with women to teach them how to honor themselves, how to educate themselves, and how to rise into that golden year and how to write that perfect story for their life and their golden years. You know, my Cherokee grandmother, um, I would say that she, now that I know she was Cherokee, was the elder of our family, and we often had story time with her sisters and her brothers that would come down. We always had dinner after church, and she cooked, and then all of a sudden, all these aunts and uncles started showing up, and the story time around all of that. And what I say is that as a young child, I got to hear those stories. Otherwise, I would know a lot of the stuff that I do know today. And I think they're so important that you tell those stories. And back then, you only had pencil and paper to write them down. Now we have videos, we have iPhones. Yeah, I mean, you can record snippets and put them on a thumb drive or a something. Who knows by the time we pass what that something's gonna be, but I think it's important that you tell those stories because let me tell you, if somebody else is telling my story, they won't know the real truth. So I
Mm-mm.
tell ladies, pick up your golden pen and write your own story, and if that means recording it or whatever, don't let somebody else tell your story because invariably they'll mess it up or they'll miss the really good part, and in my case, there were a lot of good parts.
This is so true. I mean, nobody could tell your story because nobody knows all the aspects of your story. They just see it through the lens that you have been willing to give them to see. Um, and that's what we as women tend to do. We kind of hide between so many different lenses, and we only let people. I
Mm.
had a good friend that texted me this morning. She says, "I'm struggling, but I won't let the family see that I'm struggling." And that in itself, yeah, your family has hints of that you're struggling. Don't think that they can't see it. They can see it, even though you're faking it through you making it.
Mm.
And I was so excited about you joining us because I wanted women to hear that they have the possibilities of actually walking into their true self
Mm.
when they enter their 50s and beyond. That this is a time that we're not caregiving for children. This is a time that we're taking care of ourselves so that we could be our whole self. And thank you for giving us your stories and all this wonderful nuggets of information. And I ask our audience to follow up with Dr. Nichols because this is the time for you. This is the time for you to make a difference in your own life. No one can take that away from you. This is your time. And with that, Dr. Nichols, we always do a request from our guests that you give us your song. That song that's in your head, that song that gives you joy.
Um, well, that changes quite often, but right now it's the one that Roll is singing that's all over YouTube, and, I just, I get cold chills when I hear him sing that song, and I don't even know the name of it, but it's all over TikTok and YouTube. Um, that one's pretty important, because he gives God all the praise and for his life. And I've never been a Jelly Roll big fan, until just recently. And then I started listening to him and reading his story about his young life growing up and his prison life and now where he is. And I'm thinking, if he can do that, anybody can do it. So there you go.
Yeah, that's amazing. We also do something else, and it's based on our energy, and that is our gratitude rock. And now I'll let Beth select the gratitude rock for this session.
Okay. I had to take a deep breath. I'm going to take one more.
I'm taking one too.
Good. All right. This is the color for people that can't see. It's kind of a cool green, blue, looks like earth. And the word is balance. So when the word balance comes to you, what does that mean for you, or what comes to mind for you?
Balance your health, balance your wealth, balance your knowledge, and life will be balanced for you.
Powerful.
Yes. And so immediate. I love that it just came flowing right out so beautifully. Thank you for that. Beautiful.
That was perfect. There's nothing to add.
I know. Nothing.
So, RJ, how do we reach you?
I am on all of the social media platforms. Probably LinkedIn is the one I'm on the most, but you can also go to my website, which is herlifelegacy.com, herlifelegacy.com, and get all kinds of information there. You'll get a snippet of where I grew up. You'll see some of that. I have pictures of the ranch in there, and I'm thinking about doing a section where I add pictures of my grandparents and talk about the Cherokee heritage. And one of my goals this year, I have lots of goals, but one of my main goals is to do the ancestry and track my third great grandmother back to Cherokee, North Carolina. We do not have Indian cards, and I don't know why it's so important to me, but I want that little card that says I am a Cherokee. And I want that for my family. So.
Absolutely. So thank you all. And with this, I say to you, take ownership of yourself. Understand that legacy starts from the moment of breath. And we love you. We thank you with joy and gratitude.